Abdul Saeed's interview with Jesse Waters last night, totally lit. As I said at the top, you could tell they're having fun. As Dan says, game recognizes game, and they were sparring quite a bit. It was a good time. Jesse basically grilled him on a host of socialist adjacent policy issues and cultural issues, men and women's sports, the Green New Deal, the cost of Medicare for all. At one point, he asked him, do you know how much the yearly budget is? And he didn't seem to know, needled him on that, and the costs of all these policies. And each time, Abdul El Saeed did a very good job of pivoting back to affordability concerns over and over and over. I'm for the little guy, you're for the billionaire. We're going to play a couple sound bites from this interview. The first one is a clip about tax hikes for millionaires, which Saeed obviously supports. Jesse basically was asking Jesse, like, what are billionaires going to do with more money? Let's take a listen to this clip.
What are you going to do with more money? I mean, whatever I want.
I mean, Jesse, I don't know how much you make. Look,
not $1 billion.
I think I'd rather have. Well, yeah, look, so that's exactly it, right? The question ultimately is, do you want to drive on good roads, or would you rather have a billionaire make a second billion? That's what Mike Rogers wants. That's what Donald Trump wants. Apparently, that's what you want. I think the people in Michigan want something different. They want good roads and good schools.
So you're saying Beyonce, who just became a billionaire, she has to break you off something every year? She has to pay the politicians?
It's not me. It's the American public.
You're
Beyonce,
the one that wants the money.
To be able to contribute back to the public schools that she went to. I think she'd be happy to invest in good roads in her community. I think she'd be happy to pay a little bit more so that everybody had a little bit more.
You're reaching a little deep into the pockets,
to be defending billionaires from your channel, Jesse. That's a crazy thing. I thought you were for. I'm just saying. Look, at the end of the day, I thought you were for the everyday man. Like, if you're for billionaires more than you're for every other person, well, you and I are just going to disagree.
No, I just think I have the right to the fruits of my own labor. That's America. It's not communist, what you're talking about.
No, the problem with it, Jesse, is
you about socialized health care.
Billionaires don't make money. And let me just answer the question.
Sure.
No, let me go back to that.
Go ahead.
Billionaires don't make their money off of their labor. That, I think, is where you head off. Billionaires that make their money off their money. So if you have $1 billion, your billion makes another 100 million. That's not the fruits of your labor. That's just the fruits of your money making money. I think it's okay. Like, if we tax you at 7%, you're still going to make, what, a cool $30 million off your $1 billion? I think it's okay. They're going to be okay, Jesse.
Yeah, I just don't like the idea of politicians.
They're okay.
Like
they're going to be okay. All right, Dan, why don't you start here? Because you were texting. You thought he just totally crushed this. But that was a perfect example of him taking a question about tax hikes, right? And saying, no, this is important for everyday Americans, and sort of making Jesse look like he was the one out of touch.
Yeah, I mean, look, first off, Jesse's my friend. I thought Jesse did a great job. Like, there's a reason he is one of the highest rated people on TV, if not the highest rated many months, because he also has a great demeanor and a way to kind of deliver a punch, with a smile, but he can also be serious. Yeah. But I thought I was super impressed with El Saeed. We can argue over whether we should or should not raise taxes, but his ability to stay relatively calm yet be passionate. We're going to talk about Hakeem Jeffries, who looks stilted. That is a man, Abdul El Saeed. The way he spoke sounded like a guy arguing in a bar, right? He kind of was using slang and he was cutting him off, but like he stayed calm. And he was so quick on his feet to respond. Every single time he got an opening, he pounced. And I thought that, Jesse did the same thing. And I thought a couple times they both recognized that the other got him, but they kept going. And so I thought, Sean, you and I said, was it a good idea? That clip, if I'm a, kind of MAGA person, I don't love Jesse defending billionaires. I get it, right? I personally would say, you shouldn't tax the bejesus out of people. But there were a couple moments where I thought, all right, you're speaking to some Trump voters in a pretty good way. Now, there are other instances where, it was crazy from a substantive standpoint, but he's a good political athlete. There's no doubt Abdul El Saeed is
Sean,
like Trump's a good political athlete. So
I was going to say, Sean, yesterday, as Dan mentioned, you thought this was a bad idea because what voter is he going to reach on Fox News that's actually going to vote for him? Do you want to amend that, or do you still think that that's the case?
So I don't know. I don't think he won anyone. I don't think he harmed himself. I agree with Dan. Look, I watched it and I was amazed at how call it lying, pivoting, whatever you want.
Yeah.
He got out of every one of those holes. And
Yep.
if I was doing a media training session, and we'll bring up
Totally
the Jeffries thing later, I'd say this guy got away with it. He pivoted every time to saying, you don't like sunshine? I love sunshine. America loves sunshine. It gets pretty every day. Rainbows and puppies are awesome. Why would you be against rain? I mean, he pivoted almost better than anybody I've seen before, and I'd have to think long and hard. Like, I would use that as an example of media training to say, no matter what the question is, you answer what you want, and watch how he did this.
And watch his demeanor doing it.
Right. He was very cool.
At the camera, very calm, with a smile, with some passion.
I will say there was. So this is why I wanted to lead with. There was a point in the interview where Al Sayed said to him, you said that what you wanted to do in this interview is have a conversation where I got to talk. The conversation I'd really love to know about is what did they agree to get him on the show? Because I've done this before where you get a guest that maybe doesn't want to come on but will, and so you say, hey, look, I'll agree that I'll stay within these parameters. I'll let you'll always have an opportunity to talk and to follow up. And if you're Jesse Waters, you want to make sure that you show this so that in the future a Dem liberal will say, okay, I saw that. He let him talk and he let him do it every time. So you as a host, there is a bit of I've got to make sure I don't come across like a spider monkey coming after you, because you want to make sure in the future you can still get that hostile guest. So I would want to have known that, because I felt like there were times where I was like, Jesse, come on, follow up with him, pin him down on this. Like he is sliming away. And then Jesse would move to the next topic. I just felt like, dude, you've got to, like, he never got pinned down on a single thing.
Well, I was going to say
every time it was like, okay, well, what do you think about women?
I actually think he got him on the sex changes for minors thing, which is a sound I want to play next, because like there were two moments where I cringed when I listened to El Sayed. One was when he defended reparations for Black Americans, and the second one, which I think most Americans do not support. And then the other one was the sex changes for minors. He compared circumcision to sex changes for minors, and that was quite the moment. Let's play that clip.
I also thought he got him, by the way, on the Green New Deal, talking about combustible engines in Michigan. Because he was like, no, of course I don't want that. And Jesse's like, you support the Green. I thought you'll see that clip again.
Yeah, and the Green New Deal says that, right? Yep. So, okay, let's play this clip real quick of the circumcision one.
So, Abdul, you're a doctor, right?
Selectively. I am.
So you think it's okay for a parent to slash his kid's thing-a-ling off? You think that's okay?
I mean, do you really want to have this conversation? Are you circumcised?
Yeah, but I mean, that's
Jesse,
a personal question.
Okay,
doctor.
So you probably should want to move on.
Is circumcision's different than castration?
I think it's a problem. It's a problem that you think that you get to decide what happens between a parent, a doctor, and a patient. And I'm just saying that, yes, circumcision is surgery on a kid's ding-a-ling. So if you really want to bring that up, you can. I just think you guys are really selective about how you want to talk about these things.
Abdul, Michigan's not going for that. That is sick stuff.
That clip is just incredible. But I mean, I would think Republicans would use this. Like, or is this too like, I don't know, not related to affordability that they're just going to put this aside? Or do they seize on something like this, Sean?
I'm sorry.
I think it depends on what the polling suggests, meaning there are issues, we've talked about this before, that everybody that probably agrees that doing this to kids is already voting for Mike Rogers. I mean, and so the question is, who are you moving on an issue? They'll probably bring it up maybe to motivate people, but this is not, like, this is one of those issues, like abortion, that you're probably already on one team or another. And I think you're not moving a lot of folks. The idea, though, that he is saying castration and a permanent change of your gender to a minor is the same as a circumcision is nuts. And that guy's a medical doctor.
Totally nuts.
But that's where, again, I think the follow-up was just not, I was like, come on, you've got to be kidding. Like, I don't need to be a doctor to say, you're literally telling me you're comparing one alteration, whatever you want to call circumcision, to a life-altering permanent change for a minor is actually, like, I would be concerned about a doctor that thought that was equivalent.
Well, I thought Jesse was like, Michigan's never going to go. Like, I think he did in his own style, but I think this is, I forget what the interview was, Sean, where you made this point a few weeks ago. Both sides got what they wanted out of almost every answer. So I think you'll see clips of almost every single topic, where the Abdul al-Said campaign will motivate its base with, him pushing back and standing up and pivoting. He's obsessed with they're obsessed with the culture, and I'm obsessed with your affordability. And the right is going to use this stuff to say, to Sean's point, he's slimy and he's evading, and he's basically a Marxist, not a Marxist, but like super progressive. So to me, it was an unbelievable interview. I could have watched it all night.
There was a third piece to this interview that I want to make sure we highlight. Towards the end of the interview, I can't even say it correctly, but
Abdul
al-Said.
Say his name, Sean.
I'll say his full name, Abdul Mafa, whatever. But Mike Rogers cannot be happy with this interview.
Yeah.
Because they injected him into this debate, and Abdul kept saying, "You agree that he can't? He's too weak to come on the show." And he's
a beta. He kept calling him a beta.
And he got Jesse to laugh about it. And he said, "See, you agree with me. Mike Rogers is a beta." And over again, he kept going back to that. If you're the Rogers campaign, you're trying to book yourself on Jesse Waters tonight or tomorrow night, because this made him look. It was not. El Said did, if there's anything that he actually accomplished in this thing, it was making people question Mike Rogers.
But I also think, because this goes to what we talk about with part of Trump's strength, Trump's willingness to go on Meet the Press and brawl earns him the perception of strength. He's unafraid. He'll come into your house and he's going to throw a punch. Abdul al-Said looked like he could sit at Fox News all night long, whether it was Hannity or Waters or Ingram or anybody at that channel, and he would be super happy and comfortable to brawl with you all night. Hakeem Jeffries doesn't look like that. Kamala Harris doesn't look like that. Josh Shapiro maybe in the future is going to look like that. But the only Democrat that I see right now who looks like he could, or she could, sit there all night and do it is Abdul al-Said. I will also say, because I was on here, don't lose track of the fact that Hassan Piker is haunting that guy. He is going to have to say something at some point, because Piker and Piker's friends and others are, at some point, you're going to have to, state the obvious and cut that guy loose.
Look, I got to say that's one other thing. Yeah, go ahead. I was going to say the whole Piker thing is a whole can of worms that.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say, so for those who are not familiar with what happened, there was another Piker comment suggesting American Jews invite violence by supporting Israel. El Said had to put out a statement. We can put that statement up here, distancing himself from it.
Well, and he had Piker had a Michigan congressional candidate's image in the back on his screen while he was doing this in a live stream.
Yeah,
which is just bonkers.
And there's some Dems, Hillary Schulten, who has been critical of him. She says she will not support him, even though he's the Democratic nominee here. Says that he's missing not Hassan Piker. El Said is missing an opportunity to distance himself from Piker and basically disavow him. I mean, Dan, any day that you have to put a statement out like this, saying anti-Semitism is bad, is not a good day for your campaign.
Yeah, it reminds me, I'm totally blanking, and I had it. Who was Barack Obama, the pastor he had to finally come forward and address? Sean, in 2008? Oh, God.
Jeremiah Wright.
At some point, look, if you're a prominent national figure, you tend to have some friends that cause you headaches. And at some point, you need to come out and nip this in the bud. And I think for Abdul al-Said, on some level, Hassan Piker is making this easy. The more he speaks, the more he's saying just outrageous, stupid stuff. And I think al-Said is going to have to lean in. This is a leadership moment. If he wants to run for president, and I'm being serious, if he wants to win this Senate race first, you have got to take what is right now a liability and turn it into an asset. You're seen as strong. You got to be like the strong big boy here and deal with Hassan Piker. If you do, you're going to earn a lot of respect. If you don't, it's a little bit of an albatross around him.
Yeah.
I will say this is, it's not just, I had the two Dems on yesterday. We talked about this race on my show. Julian Epstein is raising money for Mike Rogers, raising money for him. And I mean, it was a very spirited debate between, I sort of stepped back and said, why doesn't
him and Mike Nellis.
Mike Nellis went at it. But the idea that that you have not just Hillary Schulten, but this other nominee, I think it's in the 7th district. And then the black vote, there's enough, this is where you're watching, like you do not want to be answering questions like El Sayed. The Jesse Waters interview was perfectly timed because it kind of overshadowed some of this other crap that was happening. But the Hassan Piker thing, that guy, by the way, if he was smart, Piker, which he's clearly not, he would just shut up, because right now, every day that Abdul is having to talk to him about him, he's losing the day. So just shut up. If you actually want this guy elected, if you actually care about this, then stop making it about you. And that's the problem, is that Piker he is one of these guys that clearly can't help it being about him.
Yeah, for sure.